Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Whatever time it is for you, I'm Cycling, and it's time for more Let's Play Train Simulator Classic. So you've seen the Mittenwaldbahn shuttle back on the weekend. Now we're going to start this new week by doing the Innsbruck shuttle. Theoretically the same day, or the same week, or whatever it was the case may be. We're going to be still dealing with repairs, so that means we're not going to be going anywhere past the area of, I believe, Kranebitten. It looks like we're going to be doing a back and forth service between Innsbruck and Kranebitten because we cannot continue to Hockzirl. So this is a literal shuttle from buffer to buffer. It looks like that's what we're going to be doing today, assuming we start at a buffer stop. I don't know if it's a service coming in from beyond Innsbruck, but from the fact it's exclusively a shuttle saying it starts in Innsbruck, I have a feeling this is going to be a buffer to buffer scenario. We're going to find out as we get going. Let's get started, shall we? Good evening. Now it's time for the Innsbruck to Kranebitten service before returning to Innsbruck. Oh, we're going both ways. Please prepare for departure while the passengers board. And with that, everything is going to be activated. Headlights are on, instrument lights are on, wipers are on, and that's all there is to really talk about, except for one detail. I've already tried playing this scenario. I'm playing this one just like the previous scenario, which I determined the last stop was impossible. One of the stops going up the hill is not possible to make on time. My best result is 9 seconds late. And that is my best result after maybe about half a dozen attempts. So I've come to conclude that that is not possible. And again, I'm playing this in an edited form. So be aware this is an edited scenario. The timing that is impossible is this one here for 1809. So as you see, I moved it up to 18010. I also gave, actually it was for 1808 and 30 seconds, I think, or something like that. This one was 1806. I made it 1807 to give a little more breathing room. The 1804 is going to be a bit of a rush, but it is easily doable. So we're not worried about that one. I also rounded each stop along here that was not at a full minute. I rounded up to the next full minute. The exception was that the ending stop is still the exact same time because there's a lot of time for the last stop. It's just for the stops in the middle that don't give a lot of time. You can see a train coming. We have some activity here. We're going to have another train, so let's take a look outside at the as we see this one train arrive over here. We're going to see another train arriving right here. And I got a little distracted in my description, so I'm just going to show you this from above instead of trying to get you a good view of it. You're going to see him come by right here. His signal turns green, it changes, and now we have the green signal. We've been given the clearance to go. So once all of our passengers have boarded, we'll be on our way on this edited scenario. And we're going to see how this goes. Now notice that we start with 1,000 points, so we're not going to be getting green. You might have heard my chair, sorry about that. We're not going to be getting green timingless bonus notices here. We already have the points. We can't gain them anymore. We can't gain them at all in this scenario. So we're just going to try to do the scenario without any penalties, which means not being late for our stops. Going to get this train up to 40 as quick as I can because the first stop is still going to be tight. Because this first stop is going to be tight, I need to make sure I maintain speed limit for this first stop. We're going to have, at some point along this section, I expect we're going to go up to a 60, just like we did on the way in. You see speed boards flashing up ahead for some reason on the HUD. I believe that's where the 60 is going to take effect as soon as our train passes. There it is. Now we're going to have a chance to go 70 before we have to bring the train to a stop. One more thing, you cannot go to the end of this platform. It is not possible to go all the way to the end of the platform and open the doors. The game, for some reason, will not let you open the doors at the end of the platform. You have to stop a little ways earlier in the platform if you want those doors to open. So that's the other reason why I decided to go ahead and edit Innsbruck Hötting as well, because I have to sacrifice some of my distance to Innsbruck Hötting on the intended stop in order to make the stop earlier in the platform. So that loss of extra time from the having to wait, I've accommodated for that by a full half minute, basically. So now let's get the train stopped. before I reach the end of the platform, because I know the doors won't open there. And arrival pretty much on time at Innsbruck Westbahnhof platform number 1. Leaving Innsbruck Westbahnhof, our next stop is Innsbruck Hötting. And there we go. So we're up to about a 70 kilometer per hour speed, and we're going to quickly drop to a 60. Notice an OOB 2016 container train coming along. He's going to pass us. Now, whatever you do in this stretch, don't go into a number 2 view of your train. If you go to a number 2 view of your train and return to the cab, for some reason, your game will think that you are speeding at a 60 and a 40. There is no 40 in this area. The signal is not marked to show you a 40. But if you go outside the train into a number 2 view and you return to your cab, you will be shown as speeding. Just be aware of that. Don't do it in that stretch. It has happened to me twice. I am reporting the bug. I don't know if anything's going to happen as a result of it. But just be aware that that is a bug, and that may affect you in this scenario. Now that we got that out of the way, let's get ready to make our stop at Innsbruck Hötting. So I've given myself a little bit of extra time to do this. Even though it is possible to make the original stop on time, I decided because I was upping the other stop by about a minute and a half, I might as well up this one a little bit as well to give a little more time. So that's what I've ended up doing. We're just going to go ahead and crawl into the platform on this one because we have given ourselves the time to do that. And it is safer to do it that way. And this is arrival at Innsbruck Hötting, platform 1. Leaving Innsbruck Hötting, our next stop is Allerheiligenhöfe. We're going to get ourselves up to 60 fairly quickly because we are going to hit an uphill gradient that we're going to have to adjust our speed for. Rather adjust our throttle for. Our speed should hopefully stay the same. So I'm going to coast for a moment as we get into the uphill gradient. I'm going to move minimum power on too quickly. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere on this. Oh, I did a good job holding that actually. I'm at 59.65. I did a good job holding that. Okay, let's keep going. So Allerheiligenhöfe is about another kilometer and a half away. You can see now why I decided I had to edit it. The original time was I think 16:08 and a half, 16:08:30, or 18:08:30. Sorry, 16 would be even worse, but 18:08:30, and that's the time right now. We would have had to stop in the next 30 seconds. Now we did give ourselves extra time at Innsbruck Hötting, so it would have been we would have been a little further along, but we would not have been at the station on time for 18:09, and we would have been late for that reason. So I was going to move it to 18:09, but then I decided let's improve Innsbruck Hötting as well. I gave it an extra minute. That means I moved this to 18:10. We have lots of time to make the stop. And the real reason I needed to fix that is because the stop at Kranebitten, we would have been arriving at 18:11 or 18:12 for our stop there. So we don't need to do that. Let's use the extra time here instead. Makes more sense. Doesn't make sense to have a 5-minute layover if you're going to be late on all your other stops along the way. Just logic. Basic logic in my books. So I moved the throttle down to, I meant to move to an idle setting, but that didn't happen. I'm going to start braking after I get half the train in. That's about halfway now, so we're going to hit the brakes and bring this sucker to a stop. And that should work. We're going to have a perennial 0.1 there as we stop at Allerheiligenhöfe. Leaving Allerheiligenhöfe, our next stop is Kranebitten. That will end the service. Now, I noticed at the front of the train, if you look at the top of the train, I think I can go ahead and I can risk this now. If you look at the front of the train here, you notice it says Innsbruck HBF. I think it should be saying Kranebitten instead of Innsbruck HBF. Just my take on that, because that's basically where we're heading for this. Then we can change it to Innsbruck HBF after. Problem is, I just realized after I started playing this scenario, I don't know how to change the destinations on this train, so I'm just going to leave it be. And I'll figure that out later. I could have changed the keybinds if I thought about it. I would change the keybinds to F7, F8 like they are for other trains. Because I haven't been able to figure out what works on this train yet. But I haven't bothered to do that. I really should look into doing that for any trains that have destination blinds. Try and make it something consistent. Because it seems to be different across various trains. I'd rather have something consistent. So I may have to look into that in the future to change the keybinds on some of these trains. Before I actually start using them. That way I can change the destinations. There are times I've used what I've been told the destination changes are and it doesn't actually work. So as you can see, our arrival time at Kranebitten is supposed to be 18:15. Keep in mind, I gave myself extra time, so I'm actually leaving a little later. I would have been arriving at Kranebitten by now if I had not done that. So that tells you something. That tells you something. So we only need about the 2-minute layover here, which is exactly what we're going to get. I'm going to try and get myself fully through the tunnel before I stop. It is a very, very small platform, so let's put some brakes on now if we can. Now we're going to do the full brakes. Well, not quite yet. Let's keep it going for a moment. Let's make sure we are fully in the platform. We are fully in the platform, I believe. Yes, there we go. So we're going to turn the wipers off. We're going to open the doors. We're going to turn everything else off. We're going to turn that off. We're going to go ahead and change ends. Actually, the reverser needs to come down. Now we're going to change ends. So let's switch this around. And we're going to have the comical problem of the train not actually having to go anywhere yet. So let's just put this brake on just for fun. Let's make sure this is on a maximum brake. We're going to turn everything on. H. Instrument lights on. Wipers on. And we have a moment till car train before we depart. I don't need this to stay. There we go. We have a moment till car train before we depart. Well done so far. Please change ends and return to Innsbruck. Well, that's what I'm trying to do. I have no audio in here. Something does not make sense here, guys. Hold on a second. I have no idea what's going on here. I should have audio here. Well, I'm moving. Oh, I see why. I see the problem. Well, we're going to be doing this one on a very interesting situation, guys. You notice the reverser is at 0. And I'm actually going to get up to 60 kilometers an hour with the reverser in 0. That is how steep this is. You can go 60 kilometers an hour and probably even faster. You could be a runaway train if you leave the brakes off. You can't leave the brakes off on this hill. So it's going to take me a little longer to get to my destination, but I am going to be going 60 kilometers an hour down this hill. That's interesting. Like, who would have expected that? Anyone who knows hill physics, I guess. You know what? Hit this off for a second. I'm going to need this when I go to the brakes anyway. There we go. I'm just going to leave it there. That works. So it's going to take a little longer to reach the next stop, but what can you do? That's what I get for not starting properly. A little comical. In any case, we should be able to make our stop now. The passengers hopefully didn't notice. Because of the way we started that, I'm going to have to actually try to stop as quick as I can here. Once I'm fully in the platform, I'm going to pull the stop right away. So here we go. More application of that. More of that. More of that. Thank you. Let's put that up now so I don't forget. And doors are open at Allerheiligenhöfe in the most interesting way I could have done. Still somehow on time for that. We're now leaving Allerheiligenhöfe, heading for Innsbruck, Hötting. This time we do have the throttle on. So everything is functioning properly at this time. I should say we have the reverser up. Throttle and the reverser are both going, so we're good. There we go. It's like we're going uphill now. Our scheduled arrival time is 18:21. I do have the full minute, but because I had that issue with the reverser, I am challenging myself to make that timing now. So this might be a little iffy. For the purpose of the scenario, we're not even caring about the points. We have to make sure we make our timings. If we don't make the timings on time, then we technically fail the scenario. Points notwithstanding. Ignoring the fact that in a standard scenario you can speed and still be on time. So now we have to be arriving at Innsbruck Hötting in the next very small amount of time that we have to work with. This is going to be interesting. Okay, we're going to leave the brake on because that'll give us some extra quick braking power when we come to a stop in the station. So we're going to leave that on. We're going to go ahead and hit the brakes a little bit now. Take them off for a moment so we can get in far enough to come to a stop. That will do the job. You can see that extra brake putting in some work here. So there we go. Arrival at Innsbruck Hötting, platform number 2. Leaving Innsbruck Hötting. Our next stop is Innsbruck Westbahnhof. Platform number 1, which I believe is where we stopped before. I'm not 100% sure. We're going to probably be warned into a 40 here. Now this 40 that you see on the distance signal, I believe this is the reason why we were being given the problem on top of the train. So when you're in that section, for some reason the game thinks you're going in the opposite direction for some reason, and it gives you the penalty. That seems to be what happens. It's the game just suddenly forgets which way you're going and what your actual speed is, and penalizes you. So in this case, we have to get down to 40 now for our trip through this section. But if you're coming the other way, the game thinks you're supposed to be going 40 when you go back into the train. So it's just a momentary bug in the train, I think, and I think it is exclusive to this train on this route in those little sections. I'm sure going the other direction, if you're in a section where you're supposed to go 50, the same thing will happen. Maybe it happens on other routes too, on other German routes like Unit to Garmisch-Partenkirchen. It might happen in some 40s in the other direction there. I don't know. I don't know what they all are, but it could be problems with just the Swiss ones, or I should say the Austrian ones. It may be a problem with just the Austrian signals, in which case this will be the first route that happens in. And I do think it will happen if you go in the other direction from Schawitz as well. I believe it would happen. So you have to stay with an in-train view, or if you're going to do the outer train view, don't go back to being in the train until you get out of that area. And then you're probably safe to do it again. I can go 70 again, so let's do that. Then we will make our stop. There's a train right there. I didn't get to see who that was. I believe it is a moving train, though. So we're coming in the platform a little bit at speed. We're going to go ahead and hit the brakes a little bit now. And hopefully we don't have to go to the end of the platform. We don't have to have bugs at the end of the platform again. Coming the other way, I actually noticed looking at the front of the train, the front door did not open, the back ones did. So even where I stopped, I was in a partial dead zone for doors opening. But in any case, we're good for this stop. So arrival at Innsbruck, Westbahnhof. Leaving Innsbruck Westbahnhof, our final stop, of course, is Innsbruck HBF. We're going to be entering a 60 kilometer per hour section. You can see an indication of a 40 up ahead. That is a distant warning for the 40. We know this from the first scenario. Coming into Innsbruck. Notice I did not go beyond to 70 because I didn't think I would have enough room to get anywhere into that range before having to slow down. So keeping it at 60 seems safe. There's a little lag there. Even at night, lag will hit you. So I'm going to do a minimum brake here just to get a little bit of speed off. It turns out it works very, very nicely, so I'm going to go a little further. Now we're going to go ahead and take the rest of that speed off. And I'm now down to 40 in time. Notice the double yellow at the bottom without the green light means that we now expect it to stop before the next quote-unquote signal, which basically means the buffer at the end of the route in this case. 6:26 at this time of year, whatever it is in this scenario, is very, very dark. You don't see very much here. We have lots of time to make this stop. Of course, the stops at the end of the route you get lots of time for. You get penalized in the middle. But as you noticed, I am playing an edited version, and even with the reverser not set on the exit from Kranebitten, I still made it to the all my stops on time, even with the reverser not set, which is actually kind of sad and funny at the same time. Let's take our time getting up to the buffer here. We want to make sure we can see the buffer. Let's make sure we see the buffer. There's the buffer. We can see it. End of journey. End of journey right here. Good enough. And doors are open at Innsbruck HBF. Let's take one more look at our train. We're right where we started. It's not much of a look, but that is our train. So yeah, this is, and like I said, an edited form of the scenario, but it's going to be one that you can do perfectly. So whether I put it up in career or standard mode, you're going to be able to do this one without speeding. So make sure you enjoy this one when you get the chance to see it in the workshop. I'm going to decide later whether I want to make it career or standard. I'm going to talk to someone about that and see what he thinks. But given that a lot of people don't like career mode, I think standard might be the way to go. I may do that. But I've shown that it can be done in career mode if you want to do it in career mode, and if you do want that, let me know, and I will be happy to make that available as well. I'll do it in both forms, whatever people want. You can convert career to standard easily anyway, so maybe I'll just do career. So you can do. I'll think about it. But that's the end of that scenario. We should get a congratulations in just a moment. The fourth scenario is going to be a much simpler looking run, just starting from I don't know, I think over here at Innsbruck. And we're going to be taking, it looks like from the time of the scenario, not the full route on the last scenario. In any case, we're going to take our well-deserved break, and we're going to continue driving at night, apparently, later on. But service is going to be back normal by tomorrow, which I guess is when the next service is that we're doing. I don't know. In any case, we're done here. Let's look at the score. So this is probably the best score screen you'd expect to see in a scenario where you start with 1,000 points. There's nothing there. We made all our stops on time. We didn't gain any points anywhere because we had all our points. Funny that. So that is basically how that one works, and we're done with this scenario. So we're going to move on to scenario 4 next time. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next time for that fourth scenario. In the meantime, have a wonderful day, evening, night, whatever it is for your part of the world. And that scenario is going to publish tomorrow. So if you're on my playlist, looking at these one after another, you will see that video in 3, 2, 1.